Assimilation and Failure, Part 1. So, in the Kohns books, Eccrites, he talks about the mirror theory. And in this theory, he says at 14 or 18 months, we begin to recognize our own reflection in the mirror. And then throughout life, we're looking for that reflection out there in the world, which we then bring back to the mirror, which we then bring back out into the world. And this is called a fantasy image. But because it is a fantasy, it's something that we can't attain. So we're circling it, trying to hold it. I was trying to remember the first time that I remember looking in the mirror. And I'd have to say it was when I was 4 years old. Because as a child, you get really excited about your birthday party. You know, there's going to be princesses and balloons and cakes. But when I got there was none of this. There was just my parents looking depressed, and I found out later it's because they were about to get a divorce. And then my grandparents looking tired, and I found out later that's because they were about to get old. And this was utterly disappointing for me as a child who had expected a wonderful birthday party. So I went down and I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to you? Other times I remember looking in the mirror was when I was trying to imitate Madonna's moves or Salt and Pepper's moves. Or these Academy Award-winning actresses who had these intense external or internal struggles because they were insane or some kind of very, very emotional, intense problem, and then they would go and win an Academy Award. But then I realized that I didn't look like these Academy Award-winning actresses, or Madonna, or even Salt and Pepper. So I was trying to find out, what is this fantasy image of myself? And as a child, I had Miss Snow White because she had black hair, but she was a little dumb, you know? And I just wanted a smart role model, somebody who had some great dance moves, and who looked like me. But I couldn't find her. I couldn't find her, and I was looking for her, and I couldn't find her until one day she appeared. Perfect. She had the dance moves. She was smart, and she looked like me. Christy fucking Yamaguchi! A Japanese-American role model, an Olympic gold star. Not only was she the winner of the U.S. Olympics, the U.S. Skating Championships, the World Skating Championships, but she was the celebrity champion in Dancing with the Stars. She appeared in Mighty Ducks 2, go figure, and is the author of numerous books, such as Always Dream, Pure Gold, and Figure Skating for Dummies. In 2008, she won the Asian Excellence Award. I don't know what that is, but I was so excited. She's also featured in PBS's special, Faces of America. And that's when I started to learn more about Christy Yamaguchi. She was born Yonsei, fourth-generation Japanese-American, and she had ancestries all the way back to Wakayama and Saga Prefecture. Her great-grandfather, like my great-grandfather, immigrated to Hawaii in order to find work as a farmer. And her maternal grandparents were sent to internment camps during World War II, where her mother was born. And it was while his family was in internment camps that her father actually fought for the U.S. military. And he was in an all-white division, and he was awarded as the best soldier. And my grandfather as well was in the U.S. military. He was Japanese-American, moved to Hawaii, and then he joined the U.S. military. But he couldn't fight during the war. But he joined the U.S. occupation forces of Japan after the war. And that's where he met my grandmother. And so when I see this video, this documentary, I think of that as my grandmother. And that is my grandfather, but Japanese, which is always a little strange. Can you pause it for a second? So I was watching this in 1992 with my grandparents. And as I said, my grandmother was born in Japan, and my grandfather was born in Hawaii to Japanese ancestry. And they both experienced the war, but on different sides, and they're both wanting to keep this Japanese traditions, but at the same time be considered American. And now, my grandfather, who's never interned, because in Hawaii they had martial law, and so they never interned the Japanese Americans there. But I noticed a similarity between him and his friends that were interned, in terms of this desire to be thought of as American. And I think that's why he joined the US military. But then he joined the US military in order to marry a Japanese woman. And I always thought this was very confusing. But then when I moved to Japan to teach English, that was just as confusing. When my mother came to when my mother came to the United States from Japan when she was 8, she was speaking Japanese at school. And the teacher came to my grandparents' house and they said, "Can you speak English to your children? Only English, even in your home." So my mother from Japan can't speak Japanese. So I grew up not being able to speak Japanese. And I always thought that that kind of wasn't unfair. So as an adult, I went to Japan, tried to learn the language, the culture, and failed at it, in a sense. And so this is why Kristi Yamaguchi was such a revelation. I mean, here was this Japanese face representing America on this international scale. And this is the same time as the Toyota was coming into the States. And I don't know, it's just amazing. And to see my grandparents crying, and my grandfather showing me articles about her and watching this with them. Here she was living the American dream. And I thought, I could do this. I could be like her. Assimilation and Failure, Part 3.